So the PFL is back for the third straight week. This week from London, England, from the Copper Box Arena. In the main event, we have got Kayla Harrison taking on Martina Jindrova. Of course, the winner will go on to take on the winner of Pacheco, taking on Elena Kolesnyk. So get the women's lightweights, and then we got the men's featherweights as well. You got Chris Wade taking on Brendan Loughnane, and you got Kudo taking on Bubba Jenkins. So in all, we've got 12 fights in this card, actually 11 fights in this card. We've got 4 postlims, and then of course we have got 3 prelims before we get into the 4 main card playoff fights. So before we get into this, folks, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. We'll be back in November for the PFL championships, and also we just posted our UFC preview and predictions for UFC 278. Of course, Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards in the main event from Salt Lake City. So our first fight is between Marcin Held and Myles Price. Myles Price coming back for another PFL fight. He's 0-2 in the promotion, and given they gave him tough guys, let's be honest, they gave him Anthony Pettis and Jeremy Stephens. Even though Anthony Pettis is kind of washed now, Jeremy Stephens is kind of washed too. I don't know. I mean, I would anticipate a Jeremy Stephens Anthony Pettis match or fight. Sorry, for the first fight of the 2023 season at lightweight. I can anticipate that, especially if it is Pettis' last year. But Marcin Held is a guy on the opposite side from Myles Price in this fight who had kind of a disappointing 2022. I mean, he gets Natan Schulte in his only fight in the PFL season this year. He loses it by unanimous decision. But Natan Schulte's a pretty solid fighter. Obviously, Schulte is not in the playoffs because he lost his first fight to the guy who I think will likely be the champion in this weight class, in Olivier Aubin-Mercier. But for Held, again, he went in the 2021 season, he went 1-1. He beat Natan Schulte the first time, lost to OAM the second fight, and then, of course, now he got the rematch against Schulte in 2022, lost by unanimous decision. I mean, this fight's pretty obvious to me, though. I mean, if Myles Price is getting submitted by a washed Anthony Pettis, he's probably going to get submitted by Marcin Held. Because Marcin Held, he will drag Myles Price to the ground. He will get him down, and he will submit him pretty quickly, I think. I mean, Held's only 30 years old. Myles Price, he's 34, and he's 11-9 in his pro career, right? Given he had a close fight with Jeremy Stephens, but I think Held's able to go out there, and I think Held is better than what Pettis and Stephens both are at this point in those two guys' career. I think Held's able to go in there, shoot for a blast double or something, or just land a takedown, get Myles Price in the ground, find a submission with something here. I mean, we've seen Held in the past with various submissions. He gets, just in fights where you're in grappling matches, a lot of knee bars, but I mean, you got arm bars and triangle chokes that he's pulled off in the past in Bellator. I think Held's able to take him down and get him in a submission. So I'm going to go Marcin Held to kick off the card with a first round sub win over Myles Price. So we've got a heavyweight fight here between Stuart Austin and Sofan Boukichou. Boukichou is making his PFL debut. He's fought before in UAE Warriors. He's on a 3-fight winning streak in that promotion as well. He had 2 tough fights back-to-back when he took on Tom Aspinall. It's that fight, though, where Boukichou breaks his leg in the fight against Aspinall, throwing a leg kick. Aspinall checks, and then boom, the leg snaps in half for Boukichou. And then he came back, fought Umar Khan in his last fight, or his fight after that in Aries FC 1. He gets knocked down the second round. Just an accumulation of damage. Eventually, he got finished in that fight. But since then, Boukichou's looked really good. He picked up 3 straight wins. Given one of them was a win via DQ, he won because his opponent was fish hooking him, but then he won back-to-back fights by rear naked choke after that. And for his opponent here, Stuart Austin, I mean, Stuart Austin's been knocked out. Let me check. Yes, 7 times in his career. Not good. He's had 8 pro losses. 7 of them he's been knocked out in. He's been knocked out by guys such as Dalcho Lujanbula, Johnny Walker, and then most recently in the PFL, Renan Ferreira and Bruno Capoloza back-to-back. And given, those are 2 tough guys, right? I mean, he's supposed to fight Ante Delia in his last fight in the PFL's 5th episode this year, but it didn't happen. Austin had to withdraw, but he got knocked out, got finished by Capoloza on the ground, and Renan Ferreira set him down in PFL 8 last year. It's just concerning. I mean, I don't think Stuart Austin's all that great. He's kind of slow on the feet. He's 34 years old, and he just keeps getting finished. I mean, I think, I'm going to take Boukichou obviously here. I don't think his hands are the greatest. I mean, he does throw some solid shots, but I wouldn't say he's on a level, obviously, of a guy in Ferreira or Bruno Capoloza, definitely, but I think Boukichou's able to go in here. I think he's able to, put the damage on Austin for a little bit and then eventually get him to the ground and just work his ground and pound, and that's why I got him by first round TKO. I mean, I put KO on the screen, but I'm going to go Boukichou by first round TKO here. I'm just not impressed with Stuart Austin at all. I think he's going to lose his 3rd straight fight. I think it's just a fight to get Boukichou going in the PFL. I've got him to win this one by first round TKO. So Simeon Powell's back here for this undercard, and he's going to win. I don't think he's going to lose to Nemanja Uveric here, because Simeon Powell's really good. Now, given he hasn't really taken on the greatest competition, Uveric has fought some guys, but at the same time hasn't fought too many guys. He's been fighting his Serbian Battle Championship, and he has won his last 5 fights over there. But given it's a guy against guys who are 0-0, 8-3, okay, 12-15, 0-0, and 40-19. Uveric hasn't fought the greatest guys. And Simeon Powell, sure, he hasn't fought the greatest competition either, but he came in the first episode of the 2022 season for PFL. I think it was the first fight in the entire season. He comes in and he beats Clinton Williams, looks really good. The stand-up looks good at a Powell, and eventually finishes him in the 3rd round with a big knee and puts him down. Powell's striking is really good. His grappling isn't bad as well. I mean, really, Powell can do it all, and I think this is kind of just a fight to, again, get Simeon Powell back in the thick of things here. He's only 23 years old. He's on a big winning streak right now with amateur and professional combined. And, you know, if Simeon Powell can go win this fight against a 205-pounder, big opportunity for him right here. I mean, we'll see if the PFL, if Powell wins, which I do anticipate him doing so. If he wins and picks up a big knockout against Uveric, like I think he's going to, I got him my first round knockout, does the PFL put him in the season next year? Because you got, you know, your 205-pound weight class for the PFL. You got guys such as, you know, Omari Akhmedov, who's going to be in the championship fight, but you're assuming, right, Josh Silveira is going to be in there again next season. I mean, PFL's lightweight division, and then you got Corey Hendricks, you've got Delon Monte, who's going to be in the championship fight, or no, sorry, not Delon Monte, Robert Wilkinson's going to be in the championship fight against Omari Akhmedov. You know what, Antonio Carlos Jr. will likely come back as well. I could definitely see them putting Powell in, of course, instead of a guy like, I don't know, Teodoros Oskarlosis, or however the hell he said that dude's name, or Victor Pesta, or even Emiliano Sordi, who lost 2 straight fights. Just a matter of if the PFL wants to put a 24-year-old Simeon Powell in there next year. But I mean, the guy's a really, you know, high-ranked prospect, I think, who can make a real statement. Of course, he's fighting at home here in England. He should win the fight. He's got the home crowd behind him. Got Powell by first round KO here. So it is the first playoff fight here in the featherweight division. It is Yoji Kudo taking on Bubba Jenkins. And it's a good fight, man, because Bubba Jenkins goes 2-0 this season, back-to-back wins over Kyle Bochniak, and then over Hinaldo Ekison. In his last fight, he took that fight on, or I mean, he was supposed to take on Sabah Balagi before that, but then I guess the replacement fighter, he wins by unanimous decision. You know, Bubba Jenkins does what he needs to do. And Bubba Jenkins has been pretty good in the PFL since coming to the promotion. His only loss is to Chris Wade, who is in the other playoff fight tonight. But Jenkins look good. He's always got a really good mix of incorporating his striking with his wrestling. He's just an all-around really well-balanced fighter, and he's going to have to mix it up against Yoji Kudo here. But I think especially Jenkins with his wrestling is going to have to pay off in this fight, because Yoji Kudo, as you saw in his last fight, a huge knockout win over Alejandro Flores. Is a fight that Kudo is the underdog in. Flores wins his first fight in the PFL season. Before that Kudo fight, and Kudo lands a big right hook, knocks him out, puts him out cold, and Kudo advances to the PFL playoffs. Now, his first fight in the promotion this year was a loss to Brendan Loughnane. Now, that was a technical decision where, again, it's in the middle of the 3rd round, I do believe, but Kudo is a plus 750 underdog going in that fight. He damages Brendan Loughnane. Like, he puts it on Loughnane in that fight. You see Loughnane's eyes all swollen up. It closes. Kudo doesn't get the nod on the decision. You can make the case that he probably should have, but barely they give it to Loughnane. And of course, I think that would have shifted things if they gave the decision to Kudo in terms of the playoff matchups, because Loughnane doesn't have 6 points anymore. I think he'd still get in the playoffs, but Kudo would then probably be the 1 seed, I think, and then you get Wade versus Jenkins, and you get the rematch between Kudo and Loughnane. But anyways, here we are with Kudo and Jenkins. Again, Kudo's gonna have to keep this fight standing. If he's gonna win this fight, he will have to keep this fight standing against Bubba Jenkins, because I don't think his wrestling's good enough to keep up with Jenkins down there. But again, you've seen how dangerous Kudo is on the feet. You've seen him damage Loughnane, and when he's got a big power shot, puts him, force him behind that big shot that he knocked out Alejandro Flores with. If Jenkins is able to avoid that, and Jenkins is just able to do enough on the feet to eventually get the fight down on the ground, then there you go. That's how he can win the fight. I think that's what he's gonna do. I'm gonna take Bubba Jenkins by unanimous decision here. I think Kudo is good, but I think there are holes in his game. Shout out to Kevin Lee, but I think there are holes in the Kudo game. If Jenkins is able to test him on the ground, which really Kudo hasn't been tested much in, I think it's just, I wouldn't say fish out of water, but I think it's just a definite advantage that Bubba Jenkins does have. Again, takedowns and more takedowns. He's able just to hold Kudo down, and I wouldn't say make it boring, but just put some damage on Kudo on the ground and make him rethink every shot that he throws once they get back up to the feet. I think Jenkins will have a lot of success in getting this fight to the ground, and that's why I'm going to take Bubba Jenkins to advance to his first PFL championship fight, and take Bubba Jenkins to beat Yoji Kudo by unanimous decision. Okay, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, I get we have to do this for the playoffs and all, but like, okay. Larissa Pacheco versus Olena Kolesnyk. It amazes me that Olena Kolesnyk found her way into the playoffs, because she looked so bad last year in 2021. She was horrible, and she came into the PFL season last year off of back-to-back losses. She lost to Pam Sorensen, she lost to not Felice Herrig, oh my goodness, that'd be weird. She lost to Felicia Spencer, and then she lost to Taylor Gordano, a fighter who was 0-1 going into the season. Given Gordano made it to the finals, and eventually she lost to Kayla Harrison. But she loses to Gordano, and then she gets knocked out by Larissa Pacheco in her second fight on the 6th episode of the PFL 2021 season. Okay, So here we are. I was surprised they brought her back, and I thought Abby Montez was going to beat her. I mean, I don't think Abby Montez is the greatest fighter, but I think a lot of people were riding the wave of momentum that Montez was setting after beating Clarissa Shields last year. But no. Okay, Kolesnyk gets a split decision, which I thought she won. I thought she beat Montez. Was it a great fight? No, she just did enough. And the Vanessa Mello fight, my goodness, Vanessa Mello is not good at fighting. Like, I don't know what happened. She was really never that great, but Kolesnyk beats her. Vanessa Mello looks so slow, old, kinda. Yeah, I mean, she's only 34, but my goodness, Kolesnyk beats her. It's not great. Okay, my thing is, what is she gonna do against Larissa Pacheco that's any different from the fight last year? Because Larissa Pacheco is just a whole other animal. Like, I mean, okay, what she did is Jamagul Fazlanova, the hell, I don't know where they found that woman, but whatever she did to Jamagul, okay, that was just a mismatch. That was sad, what the PFL matchmaking was for that fight. But when you look at her fight against Jenna Fabian, you're like, okay, that's how good Larissa Pacheco is. Larissa Pacheco can do that to really every fighter the PFL's got in this weight class except for Kayla Harrison. And that's why I want the rematch between her and Kayla Harrison that we did not get last year because Larissa Pacheco could not make weight. Nothing changes in this fight between Pacheco and Kolesnyk from the first fight. Or actually, sorry, I want to see the third fight between Pacheco and Harrison because they fought twice in 2019. But it's the fight we need to see again. Larissa Pacheco is going to dominate Loughnane Kolesnyk. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this fight. Pacheco first round knockout. Let's just get to her and Kayla Harrison. Sorry if that spoils the prediction later down the line, but Pacheco wins by first round KO. Okay, so for us, Chris Wade, Brendan Loughnane, the winner of this fight, will be fighting Bubba Jenkins. Now, Wade's already beat Bubba Jenkins. For Brendan Loughnane, he hasn't fought him just yet, but man, here you go. Loughnane and Chris Wade. I was not impressed with Brendan Loughnane's last fight. Yes, he wins, but it's a fight he's a minus 650 favorite in, and he beats Uveric, a guy who was coming off a loss in Anthony Pettis FC, and he lost to Brant Moore before that. It's a guy coming into PFL on a 2-fight losing streak. And Loughnane should have finished him. He didn't. He just didn't look great in that fight. If we're being honest, Loughnane hasn't looked good this entire year. The Hyoji Kudo fight, okay, he wins, but like doesn't do much with it, right? I mean, barely wins. It wasn't a good performance. It wasn't a good performance. I thought Kudo was doing better, but Loughnane wins the fight, right? My thing though is just like Chris Wade looks so much better. I mean, he comes in the season. I know he loses to Khabilev in the championship last year in 2021. That's fine. When he comes in 2022, he has a fight against Lance Party Palmer. He beats him by unanimous decision. And then he finishes Kyle Bochniak, in his last fight, knocks him out of the first round with a head kick to advance into the 1 seed now and to get this fight against Brendan Loughnane. And Chris Wade's been very outspoken going into this fight about how the PFL, this was supposed to be I think this was supposed to be on the card at MSG, at the Hulu Theater at MSG, whatever, in New York. This is where this original fight was supposed to be between Wade and Loughnane. They moved it back because the PFL wanted to have Brendan Loughnane, A, fight at home. They want him to fight in London, and B, they want Brendan Loughnane to have time to recover. And that's what Chris Wade's been pointing out, that, hey, Chris Wade, he said, I took no damage in that fight against Bochniak. I knocked him out in the first round. I want to go sooner, and so he has more time to rest for the championship fight, assuming that he beats Loughnane. And he wants to make it tougher on Loughnane coming back on short notice, just because that's how the playoff format is, and that's how the PFL operates. But no, the PFL pushed this fight back just to get Loughnane here in London. And it kind of just feels like, yeah, it's Chris Wade versus the establishment here, because Chris Wade should win. I think he will win. I mean, that was Wade's first finish in a while, where he did go out there and finish when he finished Kyle Bochniak. But I think he's able to outstrike Loughnane. Loughnane looked bad in his last fight, and he took some damage against a guy in Ago Husik, who was not supposed to do that much damage against Brendan Loughnane. Right? I think Wade's able to mix it up the wrestling if he has to, but on the feet, in a pure striking fight, give me Chris Wade. On the ground, give me Chris Wade all day. I'm just concerned if this is a very close fight, they will give it to Brendan Loughnane, because you know they will. It's the PFL, they're kind of screwy. If this is a razor-thin close fight, especially because we're in London, this fight will go to Brendan Loughnane. So if you're live betting this fight and it's going into the third round and it's razor thin, the first rounds are really close, you think maybe Wade won, but if they're just somewhat competitive, you might want to put some cash on Brendan Loughnane on the live odds just because, we're in London. I'm just saying, the scorecards could get tricky. I'm taking Chris Wade because I think he's the better fighter. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler. Taking Wade to advance to the championship fight against Bubba Jenkins in their rematch of last year. Give me Wade by unanimous decision. Main event time. Kayla Harrison trying to punch her ticket to yet another PFL championship fight. This time it is against Martina Jindrova. Now, Jindrova is better than Kayla Harrison's last opponent. It was Caitlin Young, and you knew how that fight was going to end. But I mean, okay, Jindrova's better on the ground. She does have some jiu-jitsu. She does have some grappling skills. She can threaten off her back a little bit, and I think she will be tougher for Kayla Harrison to take down than some of her last opponents. And I think Jindrova offers, kind of a different matchup for Harrison on the feet. I think she's just better than what Caitlin Young was on the feet. I think she's a little bit better. Actually, I wouldn't say she's better than Marina Mohatina, but I think Jindrova is just going to be a little bit tougher for Kayla Harrison to submit right away. Do I think Kayla Harrison still wins? Obviously, she's going to submit her in the first round. But instead of saying, oh, I think Kayla Harrison wins in 2 minutes, I think she wins like in 4.5 minutes. I think it will take Kayla Harrison some time to set up the submission when she does get on the ground. I think Jindrova will defend it well off her back. But eventually, I think Kayla Harrison's either going to find an armbar, she's going to find it back, and she's going to submit her. I mean, I think Kayla Harrison's going to win the fight. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I'm just saying I think Jindrova is a little bit tougher than some of Kayla's other opponents. I mean, the fight we all want to see is Kayla Harrison versus Cris Cyborg. Is that happening? I don't know. I hope it does. I hope Cris Cyborg stops ducking Kayla Harrison and they fight in the PFL season next year because Cris Cyborg's saying, oh, they offered me millions, but they don't know what my worth is or whatever. It's like, come on, dude. Just fight Kayla Harrison. Sign with the PFL, Bellator champion versus the PFL champion. We can decide, and you can have the fight at 45. Then hopefully, I mean, perfect world, right? I don't hate Cris Cyborg, but a perfect world, I don't think Cris Cyborg's going back to the UFC. Kayla Harrison wins. She goes to the UFC. She fights Amanda Nunes at 145 pounds. But again, Kayla's got to get through Jindrova, and then again, Larissa Pacheco for the third time. She's going to beat Jindrova. I mean, I think Jindrova's more competitive than her other opponents. I think she stays in the fight maybe a little bit longer. Maybe this one does reach the second round. I mean, you can't forget, Marina Mohatina took it all the way to the third round, or to the end of the fight against Kayla. But I think Harrison, that was just an off night for her. I think she'll take down Jindrova pretty quickly here, and I think she'll submit her within 4 minutes. So give me Kayla Harrison to advance on to the lightweight championship fight against Larissa Pacheco, and then we'll go on talk about the 4 postlims right after this. But yeah, give me Kayla Harrison to move on to the championship fight yet again. So real quickly to close out the card, we're going to go through the 4 postlim fights. The first one being Ali Taleb taking on Kenji. I'm going to take Ali Taleb in this fight. Taleb's undefeated so far. He's 7-0, and honestly, this postlim's portion of the card is pretty good. You got a lot of fighters coming in from UAE Warriors. Taleb is undefeated in UAE Warriors, went 5-0. Got finishes by KO, by submission, by decision as well. I like the hands that Taleb saw him fight in his last UAE Warriors fight. I think he's able, when he beat Vinicius de Oliveira a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I really like him in this fight. I think he's able to go in there and put on a beat down over Kenji here. I think I'm going to take him by second round TKO. Our next fight will be Tayo taking on Magnus Iverson. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I haven't watched these two guys fight just yet, but just looking off of stuff on Tapology and reading stuff about both these guys, I think Tayo Adunjo is the favorite in this one. I think he should be able to win this fight. From what I've seen, he's got a lot more power than Iverson's got. Iverson is the Norwegian fighter who did have a fight on UAE Warriors early in 2022. He won via injury. I think that his opponent in Tayo Adunjo is able to win this one and take him by first round knockout. Next up, we got heavyweight fight. We've got Louis Sutherland taking on Abraham Bobley. Going to be taking Louis in this fight. Both these guys throw very hard. I mean, Abraham Bobley's only fight so far won by referee stoppage in late 2021. The thing is, he fought a guy who was 2-18. Oh my goodness, English at the time, and now is 2-13. He fought some guy John Lasik, the monster from the Czech Republic. Okay, he's 2-13, 2-23. Sutherland's good. He's got crisp hands, and he's pretty. I mean, okay, he's got power, but the thing is, the guys he's been fighting aren't that good too, because his wins are Dion Goombridge, who's a guy who's 1-3. The same guy, John Lasik, the same guy that Bobley beat. After Bobley beat him, Sutherland beat him. So it's just, these guys have been fighting cans so far. We're going to see who the better, I wouldn't say who the better can crusher is, but who is eventually now able to make their way up into the higher ranks here in these regional scenes. I'm going to take Louis Sutherland by first round knockout. And finally, probably the fight that is the most interesting on this postlims card, you've got Dakota Dichiva, who is a pretty high-level prospect coming up through the ranks right now. She's undefeated. She's 5-0. She's picked up a unanimous decision victory at UAE Warriors 28. She's pretty solid, man. She's got some really nice hands. She's good on the feet and also on the ground. Really aggressive as well down there. If she does get the fight on the ground, her ground pound is really good as well. I think this is the biggest lock of the card on the postlims portion. She's taking on Hassana Gaber, the Egyptian fighter here who hasn't really fought anyone. She's 1-1 UAE Warriors. She lost her first fight to a fighter making her pro debut at 145. Then she went down to 125 to fight her last fight. She won by decision. I think Dichiva's better here. I'm going to take her by late stoppage. It'll be a late ground and pound finish for Dakota Dichiva, picking up the win here in her first PFL fight. So, folks, thank y'all for watching our PFL 9 preview and predictions here on the channel. We'll be back for the championship card coming up in November. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you have not yet. Also, hit that subscribe button, too, as well. Thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.